Hello everyone and welcome to Original versus Remake. Today we're talking about Aladdin. So we're going all the way back to I think 92 for the cartoon and now the 2019 live action flick.
That was the year that I was born.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I was so this movie is as old as I am.
And I gotta say, watching the original brought up a lot of good memories.
Yeah, same. I saw this one in theaters. I was only like 5 and I was just like, oh, this is so awesome.
It was a great movie. One of the but one of the few, I feel like, Disney movies that is actually, the protagonist is a male.
A lot of the times it's a female.
A lot of times it's the princess. And like that's not to say Jasmine isn't a protagonist, she's just not the main focus.
Not so much. She actually, in the original movie, only had one song.
Oh yeah.
And they changed that for the remake, which I thought was a very good choice. I am assuming that they took music from the Broadway show.
I would have to look that up. I'm not sure because I think she had 3 total songs, and one of them was very key at the end. Like almost every song from this was lifted directly from the original, with a little bit of a twist. Like I know they added some hip hop stuff for Will Smith, Genie, which it didn't bother me at all. I was actually like, I don't know if we want to stick with the old one for now or talk about the new one. What do you want to do?
Let's talk a little bit more about the old one and then move forward.
Like the original, the like irreplaceable, the amazing Robin Williams doing his. Although I thought he was a better singer. Like some of that stuff hasn't aged quite as well as far as his voice goes.
No.
But the energy is always so much there, and it's still perfect.
He's just so amazing. And actually, funny enough, and I think that I saw this because the new movie was coming out, but I saw a clip before they'd actually even employed Robin Williams, and we'll show a little clip of it. But it's Disney production trying to convince Robin Williams to join the cast by doing cartoons to some of his stand-up, and it's amazing. Robin Williams is a legend. He can be irreplaceable, and he is what makes Aladdin amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the character of Aladdin is okay. Same with Jasmine, and Jafar is an okay.
Raja is just like not even a big role. It's just cool that she has a tiger.
So, and Robin Williams' Genie is what makes Aladdin in the first one.
And in the first one, the Sultan is basically just a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
And like, although one of the things that is supposed to be very silly about that is that Jafar, like every time he sees Jafar, he's like, oh, my most trusted advisor, my old friend. And it's like you see Jafar, the way he talks and the way he is, and it's the most over-the-top possible villain.
Yeah.
And it's showing how foolish the Sultan is because it's just like, yeah, he doesn't see it. He doesn't see how crazy his vizier is, or vizier.
Because I know Elton John did Lion King. Was it Guy Ritchie?
No.
Guy Ritchie also directed the new one.
Yeah, it's very much so much brighter than everything he's ever done. So the composer for the original one was Alan Menken, who actually came back and did some work on this, or they gave him credit because there were songs that he probably wrote or at least scored. And he also did Pocahontas and a lot of other things. It was kind of right before Disney started going hardcore into bringing people in. Like you've got the Tarzan soundtrack.
Tarzan is the other, Phil Collins.
Yeah, the Phil Collins one, like where you started having these big names.
Elton John did all of Lion King.
Did he do all of Lion King?
Yeah.
I know he did like the "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" song.
I thought he did all of it.
I wasn't sure if he like did all of it. I wouldn't be surprised.
We'll fact check that one.
But either way, like you're talking about a score that's kind of legendary. Like the Friend Like Me, you've got that original opening song, like the Arabian Nights.
The Arabian Nights. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I know how much work. We haven't done a Disney movie yet. No. And I had an amazing opportunity, and I got a private tour of Disney's animation building back in 2013 when I was living in LA. And so I got to see all the behind the scenes and how much work these animators put into these movies. Like, I know that every time that they got an art director for a different movie, they would fly their entire team out to do research in the different places. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Aladdin team got to go to somewhere in the Middle East and got to see a real bazaar and got to see all the architecture. I know they did that with Hunchback of Notre Dame. They went to France and
I'd be very surprised if they didn't, knowing Disney, just because like whenever you're talking about animators, you want them to have that authentic feel to everything that they're doing.
And that's why they do so well. Disney is so prestigious with their work is because of that. So the animation, even though I watched a remastered version of it, did you?
I believe so.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. I'm sure if we were just saw the original, it'd be a lot muted and everything, but still the animation is quite amazing.
Yeah, like I didn't have any problems going back to that animation, but that hand-drawn stuff, like, it was...
Well, and I gotta say, I think this is right on the cusp of them starting to do digital stuff along with
the
it. The
Cave of Wonders was digital, and there were a few moments of digital stuff overlaid with the hand-painted...
Not as bad as Anastasia.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. Anastasia, is that even Disney or is that a DreamWorks?
That's a DreamWorks, but I think that's like a perfect example of bad traditional animation with digital in there because it doesn't quite fit.
Thankfully, the story was there enough that it was still enjoyable, but it was like it doesn't quite hold up to a lot of Disney movies.
Mm-hmm. And like the whole the story of it, it's a definite rags to riches and whatnot.
Yeah. This has that as well. Mm-hmm. Like it's a different way of going about it, though. Like, I guess it's sort of similar. It's like the guy becomes a sultan, and she's trying to become I guess she's not really trying to become royalty. It's been a while. We're not talking about Anastasia, but
I'm like, no, but with the Aladdin, I gotta say, this is not a movie for girls. Yes, Jasmine is a beautiful princess, and she is a princess, and she's strong, and she has her moments and everything, but this story isn't about her, and I kind of appreciated that with watching it because I feel like a lot of Disney now, a lot of it is catered to like little girls and being a strong little girl, and there's not much of a love story anymore, which I also really appreciate. I'm not knocking it, but I think it's good for little boys to also have their movie. And so when they kind of made the change to the remake, I didn't think it was bad, but I feel like it takes away a little from Aladdin's story.
They made her a deeper, more compelling character.
Which is great, which is fantastic, but they also kind of made her more flat in some cases. Like, she was fearless in the first one. She didn't need him to hold her hand through anything, and they took that away from her a little bit in the remake.
Yeah, she was still a very strong character, and like they made her wizened and more competent for like future ruling and stuff like that. They did a lot to make her more of an actual princess.
Man. Yeah.
They did more to make her an actual princess that was looking to become a queen rather than a Disney princess like waiting for her Prince Charming type thing.
Well, and she didn't even want the Prince Charming. She was running away from it. Yeah, in the original, and I think that's one of my few criticisms with the original is that they. Well, and I don't think it's even a criticism. This is a movie for little boys.
Yeah. And like it's like the guy gets the girl, you get to all your wishes, you get to be the cool guy. Like everybody all of a sudden is just enamored with you, which they actually did pretty well with the whole like him being super awkward as Prince Ali in the new one.
I actually, and with the old one, I genuinely laughed. I genuinely laughed at Robin Williams' character and Genie and all that stuff. But in the new one, I genuinely laughed at Aladdin.
Yeah.
And his acting and all that stuff. It was funny.
The guy they got to play Aladdin was spot on for me.
Yeah.
Like, I had no problems with that. The girl that played Jasmine, I was fine with her. Like I always thought Jasmine was slightly hotter than that.
Yeah.
But
she seemed more Indian than Middle Eastern to me, but that might be like a really fine line that I have no understanding to whatsoever. I'm not saying that I do, but
she was more like muted features and everything but the actress was fine. She did a good enough job. She had a voice that was reminiscent of the old Jasmine, although the old Jasmine is like straight up just a blonde white girl. Which is
she?
Yeah.
That's funny. That's
like this was before.
Do you know who Aladdin was? Aladdin was a kid from Full House.
Was it?
He was like the goofy teenage boy that was hanging around the girls.
That doesn't.
That was Aladdin. Yeah. So
this was before
gentrification and whatnot.
This was before like Moana, where they're like everybody who's in this movie except the chicken is going to be an islander.
Yeah, which is great. It's a good way of doing it, but I mean it works. This is 1992. We're talking about what was going on in '92 other than this beautiful creature being born.
I mean, Clinton got into office. There's a lot of different stuff happening.
Anyways, so let's talk about what we liked about the remake.
I thought that Will Smith did as good of a job as you could trying to replace Robin Williams. I actually liked so like I don't know if I really liked his subplot with the girl and everything a ton, but it didn't feel like it was in the way because it was very quick and it was kind of like it was just a fun thing showing that he wanted to be more human.
I gave him a little bit more dimension, which is great. I never thought of the fact that Robin's genie didn't really have much to him other than the fact that he wanted to be free.
Which kind of makes sense for someone that, like, for thousands of years at a time lives in a jar, basically.
Yeah, right, exactly. I have to agree with that statement. Will Smith did as good of his job as he could he wasn't trying to copy Robin. He completely did his own version of the genie, which I really appreciated, and he was funny.
Yeah, like the thing that Will Smith got across more than anything, and Robin Williams did this too, is the genie definitely seemed to be having fun making the wishes happen. And I think it was they did more about like, are you the guy, like the one that's like the Jafar type character, the evil guy and all this. And so I think for him not having one of those like evil, overly driven by ambitious type guys, he actually kind of let loose with his magic more and did a lot more with it.
And that's why Aladdin became a friend instead of a master. And they really stuck to that chord, as Toady said, in this movie, and I like that kind of subplot because I didn't think about that in the first one. I thought this was just Genie's character and he did this with everybody, but in the remake they really made a big difference between Will Smith with Aladdin and Will Smith with Jafar, and it was refreshing, and I liked it, and overall I appreciated this movie.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah. It's hard for me to like musicals, and I was okay with this.
Like, even musicals aside, the production of the numbers and even just
like the dancing, the composition,
the composition was so good, and whether it was original pieces for Jasmine or I think that they're from the Broadway.
Probably.
It was well done.
And like, you think of how over the top, like the whole Prince Ali, like whenever he's coming into Agrabah for the first time, and they matched that level of over the top for this, and they might have exceeded it. Like, as far as like, you've got a hype man and Genie, in the live action version, they actually had like enough people, and they had enough people that were being enthusiastic, and all these props and all these things flying, and it was actually exciting to watch as far as that. Like, as far as a spectacle, they hit that as hard as they could, and it reminded me so much of the cartoon during the scenes.
And I think what did it really well is that I think they had as many real people as possible. Like, obviously there was CGI in like the monkeys doing backflips and the ostriches running straight towards the camera and stuff like that, but I think for the most part they got real people to be dancing and doing these fantastical stuff, and it made it. I think that was my favorite part of the movie.
They built entire blocks of a city. You could tell that that it wasn't just like the same angle over and over again, like or just slightly shifting in the same buildings. They used that main thoroughfare a lot, but that's because that's where the story took place. But Disney took the time to make big sets and make kind of just a really cool, larger thing out of this.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the music, and I kind of knew that going in because there was a lot of hype behind A Whole New World. I saw a lot of people on Instagram being like, this is amazing. And so going into it, it was interesting, and it was interesting to hear Will Smith's actual voice, like singing voice. I know he does a lot of music,
and stuff
but
like
this was more lyrical and melodic.
Yeah, you don't really see Will Smith trying to belt out like it. The movie
Nights.
Starts with Arabian Nights, and the thing is, he's not a perfect singer, but neither was Robin Williams, and it's like it lended a little bit of authenticity to like this guy just telling a story to his kids, which is how this is framed.
Yeah.
Which, like,
I kind of liked it. I don't know if it was necessary. So this movie is, I think, 30 minutes longer.
Yeah, the original one's only an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
So like this might have been 30, 40 minutes
40
longer.
minutes longer. This one is right at 2 hour mark. And I think, I got a little bored sitting in the theater, but that's because I just watched the first Aladdin last night.
Like every single story, like all the main story beats are the same.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at something that, as far as the term remake goes, this is as much a remake as I've ever seen.
T. Yeah, it's almost like Beauty and the Beast. The Beauty and the Beast remake was a scene-for-scene remake, and this is pretty damn close.
And I felt like the scenes that they added actually added to the story. Though,
I agree with that.
For the most part. Like, I was never really annoyed with the sequence. I was like, okay, so now we're seeing that the Sultan's actually doing his job. We're seeing a little bit more about him. We're seeing a little bit more about motivations
Jasmine,
for characters. Yeah, we're seeing, like, Jasmine having to put up with more jerk-asses. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it was, and she became more of a character, which we've already said and everything.
Yeah. The magic carpet, like, that worked really well, I thought. Like, it was pretty much exactly like the cartoons. I think the reason why the not-so-perfect CGI, because sometimes it just looks a little bit too CGI, worked for me more, is because I had just watched Aladdin and saw the style that they were going for.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Alita Battle Angel, where it's like they're emulating a style, and it's not trying to put like a super realistic face on this. Although I think you could probably do a pretty cool, realistic Aladdin movie. But then again, like, we've got Lawrence of Arabia and so on for stories in that area anyway.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get annoyed with the CGI, particularly on Will Smith, because they do have a lot around him, and you can see it on his body quite a bit, but
they yoked him out. Like, he definitely isn't that big.
Well, and I wonder what the shape that he's in, because they make everything just wider, and they kind of play on that because he's like lifting weights in it, and I think that's funny. But I actually did not mind this because they kind of switch from him being blue and really CGI'd to being more human-like, and I appreciated that. I think that was good for Will. I think that was good it was good for us in the story and everything. I'm trying to think of things that I disliked.
I will say one last thing that I really did like is that the reason why people didn't recognize Aladdin was actually addressed. Like, the reason why she wouldn't be like, I know that face. It was like, it's because most of what a genie does is a facade. And so, like, literally, its magic is the reason why they didn't recognize Aladdin immediately. And I always thought that was kind of dumb. It's like the whole, like, who wouldn't recognize Clark Kent as Superman type thing.
Well, she also thought he was dead.
Yeah, in the cartoon.
In the cartoon, she thought he was dead.
Yeah. But it's still like, it's that dude's face. And it wasn't until the carpet ride that she knew it was him, though.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the thing, like, what would I criticize about this movie?
I don't think Jafar's, and I don't know if it was the acting or what, but his character didn't quite set for me.
Yeah. I thought the look was good. Not the costumes and everything were great. The actor did not sell it for me, but it's also hard for me to go from, like, that very definitive Jafar deep voice to a guy that's got, like, a very light little voice. Like, it just made him seem less sinister.
I don't know how it would have been fixed.
Just different actor.
Maybe, but Diago, we lost the entire character of Diago, but maybe they wanted to change to all the animals not being able to talk.
Yeah.
Which is just so funny, because what's that guy's name? Who played Diago in the first one?
I know who you're talking about. It's
Gottfried.
Guy. Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried, which is like, if you've ever seen Gilbert Gottfried's stand-up, he should not be anywhere near a Disney movie at all. But it fits for a really annoying parrot.
Well, the thing is, they didn't make Iago annoying at all in this.
No.
In the remake, Iago is very much like a ward of a sorcerer. Like, he's never...
He gets scary at one point, actually.
Like, they actually make him pretty sinister, like, just this big blackish, like, parrot thing that's all gnarly looking. But it's... And that's in the trailer, so I don't think that's much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
But, like, he was what you would expect an actual sorcerer's ward to be like versus a kid's movie, like, this is comic relief type stuff. And I was getting annoyed with Gilbert Gottfried with Iago because it's so loud.
It's a lot.
And you can tell that's why they cast him. And he's perfect for doing that role, but, like, man, that was painful at some moments.
I don't know. I mean, they did add quite a bit of time. And so I think that I'm not, but that's, again, like, I'm not sure if that's because I just watched Aladdin last night, so I was like, I'm getting a little glazed over.
It could have been streamlined a little bit more, but I think for people not going in watching it, which there's going to be a lot of people watching Aladdin right before going and see this.
Yeah, I saw a couple women in the bathroom afterwards was like, when was the last time you saw the original one? And she was like, 15 years ago, I think. And I was like... I laughed at that. That was kind of
for me.
insane.
Like, it was at least 10 years for me. Like, before I saw it last night.
I don't think that was it was not a movie that I watched a lot growing up. It wasn't like
we watched
Lion
it
King.
a bunch. Like we had the white case and everything for it, like the old Disney VHSs.
That's adorable.
Yeah, we had a bunch of those VHSs. But Guy Ritchie impressed me in the fact that he caught the feel of this world and made a movie that was I mean, if you're copying it, it's easy to make a movie that people are going to like. But he copied it with style, and I think he delivered a much better movie than people like me and people on Reddit thought they were going to.
I thought that this was going to be a complete flop. I did not have any expectations for this to be good, really whatsoever.
Yeah,
if I'm being completely honest.
I thought it was going to be just awful. We partially picked this movie because
we thought it was going to be
outraged.
bad.
Not that we were going to get a competent film that was actually pretty well put together. And they
done
also fixed the
justice.
CGI that was causing all the Reddit stuff, because they were like, did you see what the genie looked like? It was horrible. And it actually was, because you could actually see like Will Smith's face phasing a little bit, like it wasn't fully done yet whenever they were releasing that stuff. So they either went back and put in a lot more money, or they finally got it finished for the actual release. And what they came up with is a very fun kids movie. And I enjoyed it, and I don't like musicals, and musicals piss me off.
Yeah, and this is a great movie to take your kids to, or your...
Be a good first date movie, whatever.
A first date movie. The soundtrack is really good, and I think the main thing is that it does justice to the original one.
Yeah, it doesn't alter anything huge. It adds some little depth, and I think that's pretty much all that this movie needed to do.
That's all you can ask for something like this. I think... So what do you think, original versus remake?
I think the nostalgia has me pushing like the original Aladdin a little bit more. But like as far as like if someone said they'd never seen either Aladdin and they put it on the table, which one would you give to them?
I think I would give them the original, but if I was a little kid right now and I went to go see this Aladdin, I would be filled with all of the awe that I did as I did as a child going to the original one.
Yeah.
So I
think
think that that's the best that you can possibly get with a remake. And I honestly don't think I can pick one right now because they're two different ages. They're two different styles.
This is much more like you show the cartoon to like the 5 to 10 year olds, and then like for anyone above that, I think they would enjoy like the remake better. And even those kids might enjoy the remake better, but like it's definitely adjusted for a slightly older audience. Like the humor that Disney always puts in that's a little bit more oriented towards adults is awesome. Like we get to see Will Smith talk about being thirsty and all this other stuff. But like it's good. I'm just glad that this turned out, because I thought she was driving up here an hour just to see a movie she was going to hate. It was just going to be us railing on it for a bit. But yeah.
If you were on the fence coming to this video about whether or not to go see the new one, go see it. It's worth it. Even if you wait for it to go to the cheap theater or VOD, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, and I would say seeing this as a spectacle in the theater is probably worth it, because they did put so much into the visuals.
Take your girl for a date.
Yeah.
Take yourself for a date. Do it. And check out our future videos. We're doing a lot of really exciting stuff, not only with original versus remake, but with Booze and Booze. And we're also hitting the road. We're going to New Orleans to cover the Overlook Film Festival. We're really excited about it. It's going to be 5 days. 5 days straight of doing movies. And some of them are world premieres, some of them are United States premieres. We're gonna be seeing some cool stuff. So be sure to subscribe to our videos and hit that little bell, and you'll get all of the notifications on when we're coming out with this stuff.
All right, we will see you guys with more original versus remake, Booze and Booze, and everything else. Talk to you later.
Bye.